saying it's none of our business. We've given enough money to the universities to run their affairs. And ASUU insisting, nope, you've got to do more for Nigerian university students, and we're not going to go back to work until everything is sorted. Tonight, I'm going to have Fawehinmi. Fawehinmi is a public commentator. He's going to be joining us via phone from London, from Bristol, I beg your pardon. And then later in the studio, Segun Ali, another public commentator. And
it was, to the extent that you can make a comparison, it was quite revealing. It was quite eye-opening, in terms of the fact that, education was, my first experience of education here was when I did my, I came here and I qualified as an accountant. It was more about the learning. I mean, when I was in ASUU, it was a real challenge, because the learning didn't happen much, and you had a lot of lecturers who had there was so much bad behavior among lecturers that could not be challenged. That it just went on. I mean, I had a lecturer who would give us, extracts from communist textbooks in the name of teaching us economics. But there was no way to challenge this kind of thing. Okay,
Shay, Feyi, sorry. We're going to push this conversation forward. We're going to bring in, at a later point, we're going to bring in Segun Ali, and I'm going to be reading out some damning statistics, and I would want our other guests to also wade into the program. I want to ask you a question. You wrote 3 articles, if I'm right, and you didn't share ASUU's part of the story. You felt ASUU also should have done better in terms of the way they are negotiating with the federal government. Do you want to expatiate on that?
Well, I think my point in the articles, I wrote about 4 of them. I think my point in the article was that, look, these arguments that ASUU have with the government, they're about pay, they're about money, they're about ASUU bettering themselves. And it is very, very easy for us. We constantly confuse ASUU strikes with a movement to actually make the universities better. It's not true. When you read the 2009 agreement, it's clearly there. You can see that, where ASUU were asking for their own pay, it was very, very specific. They were very, very specific about it. This is how much you pay us for extra workload per hour, things like that. They were very, very specific. But when it got to the other parts in terms of, the universities, the actual, there were recommendations. Okay. So you hear the ASUU president, for example, saying things like, the government said they will pay 400 billion per year over 3 years. There were recommendations, and a recommendation is just a recommendation. If you recommend to the government to pay 400 billion and they pay 200 billion, you can't take them to court. Okay. So what ASUU is striking about, and we have to be really clear about this, what ASUU are striking about is pay. It is their pay, the pay that they feel that the government agreed to, and to be fair to them, government agreed to it.
Okay, Feyi, I would. There's ASUU. I've got ASUU's position here, but we'll go on a short break. When we come back, we're going to have Segun Ali, a public commentator based in the UK, and then we'll take the conversation further. Don't go away. This is Ben Television, your show Politics with KO, live from London. We'll be back shortly.
Ben Television, Ben TV. Don't touch that dial.
1, 2, 3. Core Entertainment presents the Boat Cruise on Saturday, 26th October 2013. Location, Tower Pier, nearest station.
D1. Whenever I'm in London, or even in the diaspora, I keep it locked because I watch Ben Television, Ben TV. Don't touch that dial.
1, 2, 3. Core Entertainment presents the Boat Cruise on Saturday, 26th October 2013. Location, Tower Pier, nearest station, Tower Hill. Ticket, £40 at www.eventbrite.co.uk. Boarding time, 9 p.m. sharp. Music by DJ Goody, DJ Dubwise and DJ TZ, stand-up comedians and more. For more information and booking, call Arthur Don Goody on the numbers on the screen. Remember, it's the Boat Cruise on Saturday 26th October. Come and be part of the greatest night of the year.
This event is supported by
You're welcome back to Ben Television. My name is Kayode Ogundamisi. This is Politics with KO. We're discussing ASUU strike and 100 days of Nigerian students on forced holiday as a result of government saying we don't care, and ASUU saying we're not bothered. To hell with education in Nigeria. I've got with me in the studio Segun Ali, a Nigerian-based public commentator, is in and out of the UK too. And then online from Bristol, we also have Fawehinmi. Segun, you're welcome to Politics with KO.
All right, it's a pleasure.
Now, there's this discussion. It's all about money for ASUU, isn't it? All they want is increase in salary. They don't care about the students. What's your reaction to that?
I'm not going to take that position. I believe it's not all about money, because we need to understand there is a discussion, there is an agreement that ASUU had with the federal government. I think that was around about 2009. Yeah. And they sat down, they had an agreement, they trashed it out, and they all signed a mutual understanding that this is what we're going to go. You do not sign an agreement with somebody if you know you're not in the position to actually effectively take over that position and actually do it. So I think that's where the position is, and I understand where ASUU is coming from. Yeah. You agreed with them on a position, you're going to be both trashed it out. You should have said, we have to be in a position. This is another thing that we have a problem in our country, Nigeria, today. We need transparency. You must be able to say something and actually to keep our leaders, and actually, you cannot do that. It's never done. No other countries is actually doing that. You agree with the people, whether it's the labor unions and wherever, you have to trash it out. If it's going to be over a period of 2 or 3 or an agreement that you actually going to pay that thing over a certain number of period, probably for every 2 years or whatever, it's going to be 1% increase or 2% till we reach about 20%. You must have to negotiate that sort of ideas and actually let the people, the ASUU people know. So I wouldn't really blame them. And it's a situation that the government is like, they dangled a carrot in front of them. They did not actually keep to the agreement. And these people have a legal right to actually decide whatever.
I'll bring Feyi in. Feyi, are you still there?
Yes.
Okay, you've heard Segun saying, look, it's a matter of government honoring his words. I mean, if you give your word to a 2009 agreement, why not keep to the agreement? And we've had different governments saying, well, we got into an agreement, well, we can't fulfill the agreement because of the economic reality. Now, I want to read some crazy stuff to both yourself and Segun. These are statistics. Less than 10% of the universities in Nigeria have video conferencing facilities. Less than 20% of the universities use interactive boards. More than 50% don't use public address system in their lectures, and they are overcrowded. Internet services are non-existent or epileptic and slow in 99% of Nigerian universities. I mean, it goes on and on to tell you the deplorable state of education in Nigeria. And these are government statistics. This came as a needs assessment from the federal government visiting all various tertiary institutions, and it's unimaginable. 77% of Nigerian universities are classified as glorified primary schools. Feyi, you would agree, it's not just about ASUU's salary, isn't it?
Well, I mean, those things you listed, universities are bad. You know, I mean, like I said, I've been through one myself. They're bad. All those things you said, they're quite true. But you know, let's come back to the beginning here now. You know, we're talking about ASUU are going on strike for the 2009 agreement, right? Yeah. Now, let's be clear. There are various parts to that agreement. There's a salary. There was a new salary structure. The government has honored that. They've been paying that. They've been paying them that new salary. But the problem here, what is causing the strike specifically, is a section of the agreement called the end allowances. Now, those allowances there are various types of allowances where they pay, you know, like sort of like piece rate work. If you do this, you get this. If you do that, you get this. Now, let me give an example of one of the agreements and how they work, so we understand what's going on here.
Yes, please.
You know, now there's a part of the agreement that says extra workload allowance, right? Yeah. Now that ranges from around 3,500 naira per hour for a professor down to say 2,000 for a lecturer and all that kind of, you know. So now the way it works is, now the government was stupid, really stupid. They signed that agreement. There were no specifics on how exactly this extra workload would be calculated. So what happened was that ASUU went back and they designed the system by themselves. You can't blame them. You know, I mean, they are looking for the best for their own members. So the way the system was designed was that ASUU will say a class, say for example you say BSc Economics, 100 level. They will say the class should be, the ideal class size should be 100 people, 100 students. Now, somehow, the same university will then go on and say maybe they can then admit 200 students. Now, the extra 100 students will then be calculated as extra work.
Extra, yeah.
They will now calculate based by themselves, they will now calculate a certain number of hours that they feel will be enough to manage that extra workload, and then submit the bill to the government. So you have professors, some people actually making claims of 10 million, 5 million that the government was owing them in just 1 year. Now, the problem is the government signed an agreement not knowing how much the bill will come to. So it could have been 10 billion, it could have been 100 billion.
Yeah.
Now, when the bill came in, obviously government could not pay, or even if they could pay, maybe they balked at the agreement. So this is what is happening here. We have to be clear about what is causing the problem. You know, government actually paid.
I'll let Segun come in here. Segun, it's quite clear that lecturers themselves seems to be shortchanging the system. I mean, we've had cases of lecturers victimizing female students to do well in examinations. We've had cases of lecturers selling handouts. You know, it's not. Why is ASUU not looking inward too? I mean, they're talking about the side of the government, but there are quite a number of issues with ASUU members too.
I think if we look at it, I mean, the last time I left, I'm a product of ASUU. I mean, left in '93. That's about 20 years ago. Yeah. If you look at the situation that happened 20 years ago, even pre that year, it's still the same old situation and what we're going. But everything still boils down to the situation that what we're saying in Nigeria today, we don't have a system. There's no system of growth. There's no system of in terms of the education to actually lay down plan. What are the students actually going to be? What are the universities? I think the situation in which the government is actually going right now, why not decentralize the system in what we are doing rather than the government from what other universities, and the UK was at one time was actually doing that sort of situation whereby they decided to give the free hands to the universities, to the university lecturers, autonomy to each university. So technically they could charge university students for as much as they could. They could also employ whatever teachers and determine their own internal whatever situation. I think this is the situation that we should need to be looking at in the 21st century. I mean, this is the same old system that we've been operating. It's not been working in the last 20 years, but if we look at it, the standard of education, the sort of the facilities that the students and the facility and also the educational system in which they actually teach a lot of
problem. And so it makes sense to establish new universities because the current system cannot cope. So that isn't really a problem. You know, we have a wider issue to talk about in terms of quality, but it is a valid response to the problem to set up new universities. Vietnam set up 100 new universities in about 4 years. I mean, the stats are out there. You know, I wrote about this. They established 100 new universities. Universities pop up all the time. So the Nigeria setting up 6 new universities is not really a problem.
So,
we're manufacturing the problem here.
I disagree with that idea because it's not the number of universities. If we look at the number of universities, it's the standard and the quality of education that we should be looking at. If you look at the sort of the education system we have today, the sort of graduates, even if we have the number of universities we have 103 universities. If we look at it, we have about 40 federal universities. We have about 38 state universities, which the other states. So technically, if you look at it, and we have 36 states in Nigeria, what we're looking at right today is that we have like a situation that each and every state has at least 2 universities for every state. Are we trying to say that that is not enough to actually accommodate? We need to move away from the idea.
I'll throw this to both of you. But is it not the... Yeah, sorry, Feyi. Is it not the reality that we are placing so much emphasis on university education? What happens to technical education? What happens to apprenticeship and what have you? Feyi, don't you think there's just too much emphasis on having... Don't we have more than enough graduates in Nigeria?
Look, Feyi, our problems are like a hamper. You know, if you put your hand inside, you can pick a different problem every day. We have so many problems. We have 10.5 million children that can't even get into primary school. You know, we have a secondary school problem, and we have in fact, when you look at the grand scheme of things, if we actually lay down all the problems, university problems are actually the smallest ones out of all things we are facing in education. This is the reality. Yeah. 10.5 million children are not in school. They can't get into school. You know, so what we're discussing here is 1.2 million students in all our universities. Yeah. You know, so we have different problems, and we should be able to work and chew gum at the same time. We can tackle different things. So I don't agree that the idea of setting up universities is not a problem. You know, some of these universities, for example, the Ondo State University of Science and Technology or something like that, only have about 200 students.
Yeah.
You know, so there's a concentration in the federal universities, because when you look at the distribution of students across Nigeria, the demand is really for federal universities. These universities don't really have that much students, except with the exception of the Ekiti State University that has a high number of students. Other than that, all the other state universities have very, very few students. If you look at places like Plateau State University, Bauchi State University, maybe 1,000, 2,000. But when you get to the federal universities, in the ABUs, that's when you start getting 40,000. You know, so the federal government intervening and setting up federal universities makes sense. You know, I know, look, the government is not popular and we don't like, but it's not everything they do that is wrong. You know, this is not a problem.
Okay, but Segun, is it not also true that the rumors going around in Nigeria and the feelings among critical thinkers is that the ruling elite in Nigeria, it's in their interest to destroy federal universities and publicly owned universities so that the private universities can thrive? Because you have almost all the Christian and Islamic denominations have universities now. So if you destroy the universities where the normal everyday Nigerian can go to, then they will be forced to take on the private universities. Is there some ghettoization of federal universities and state universities for the interest of the rich and wealthy in Nigeria?
I don't know, because technically, if we look at it, I believe the situation whereby automation, they free up each universities and let the universities decide. If you look at what the private universities are doing, they do charge some exorbitant prices. Some charge between 300, 400,000 per annum and all sort of things. And based on those charges, a lot of these private universities are able to attract lecturers rather than lecturers that are the academicians that are well known. And because they know they're going to get paid, the sort of atmosphere and infrastructures and all these things they're going to provide, nobody's going to want to live in a place or lecture in a place whereby you're not providing them good accommodation, the salary system, and the better equipment within the system. If that's the situation, this is where I come into a situation what Lagos State was trying to do. A lot of people are saying this guy is an elitist system, he's trying to increase the prices, but what the state government was trying to do, he sat down, he looked at the situation that, listen, if we increase this sort of, it is a state university, let everybody within the state, if they can't afford to actually pay, they come to us, we give them a sort of, some sort of money so that we could actually pay. So, I mean, I'm not saying that the prices, also, the government can give. I mean, we do have a lot of oil and the whole money. They could put some subvention also within the universities and let's.
I'll be taking. Sorry to cut you. I'll be taking phone. We're going to throw the phone lines open now because this is your program, and we encourage you to call in. You can watch online www.bentelevision.com on Sky TV, and this is your conversation. It's sad that we've got our students at home for over 100 days. And nothing is being done. We don't seem to have any solution. Feyi, are you still online?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, we're going to start taking phone calls now, and then we want you to engage in the conversation. And right now, my confusion is, what is the fate of those students who have no say in this? Feyi, what are we going to do about them?
Well, I think let's assume, I mean, to get into university, you have to be sort of like a mini, at least you're an adult, you can think for yourself, you'll be around about the 17, 18 age. So I think, given the way things are, students need to know that they are actually the most important part of this whole conversation going on.
Yeah.
So the whole idea of government, negotiating with ASUU, and then they come out and say, we have an agreement, they sign it, and then everybody goes back to work. The students should know that, that system is not in their best interest. This is why my own recommendation would be that for right now, there's an outstanding agreement. The government should do whatever it can, pay whatever it can. Let ASUU at least, to an extent, compromise, get them back in class. The best time to start talking about the future of higher education.
You just prompted a question now. Well, why must it be ASUU? Where are the parents? Why are other Nigerians not saying anything about this?
This is what I'm coming to. So what I'm saying is that I think what we can learn from all these agreements that keep getting violated and keep getting broken is that the best time to talk about the future of education, to negotiate an agreement, is when lecturers are in school, when they're in class. It cannot be a situation whereby somebody goes on strike, points a gun at the other person's head, and then, just to get them back in school, the government might agree to something that it might not normally agree to. I think because of the way things work, we don't really know where everyone stands on the issue. If ASUU go back to school, when government, meets their demands, maybe halfway, maybe some 5% of the way, when they go back to school, then we can then start a proper conversation that involves everybody in the future of higher education. That way, everyone can stake out their position. We know where everyone stands.
Okay, sorry, Feyi, we have a caller on the line. Good evening, caller. Hello, good evening.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Yeah, my name is Carlos. I'm calling from London.
Okay, Carlos, join the conversation. It's about ASUU and Nigerian students.
Yes. Actually, it's a very pathetic issue here because I don't know of any country that can grow without education. The way things are going in Nigeria, I don't know where we are heading to. But the problem is, I heard that there's a lot of agreement going on between the ASUU and the government and this one. But what I'm asking is, does the government take into consideration what those kids, what those students are going through? Because apart from the strike, the level of education in Nigeria is very, very low. You ask a question and about those people that have studied here, the difference between studying here and studying in Nigeria.
Yeah.
I studied in Nigeria. Right now I'm doing law in UK. My dear, there's no way you can compare death and life.
There's no way what?
There's no way you can compare death and life.
Oh, so you mean the educational situation in Nigeria is death and in the UK life?
Of course, that it is. Because in Nigeria, nothing is happening in Nigeria as studied in Nigeria. Even the teachers, even the models, even the... Where are you going to start from? Where are you going to start from? Federal government of Nigeria don't even know the statistics of graduates who are producing in a year. If you go to internet now, today, you cannot find out any statistics of Nigeria or any school, any university in Nigeria. Okay, let's assume you want to pay for your cousin or anything. They want to pay their school fees.
Okay, I want you to stay. I want you to remain online. Don't go away. I just got struck by one statement. There is no way you can compare death to life. I mean, is this situation that horrible back home?
Well, I think the problem we actually have is more of an attitudinal change, attitude of, as a Nigerian, our mindset and the orientations on which we actually have. I think the major problem, if you need to look at the situation, before we can actually start seeing changes within the system in Nigeria today, we need to have a different attitude. We start seeing things from a different perspective because we've been laid back for so many years and we've seen things from a perspective which is not actually working within this year. We need to have the priorities whereby we set targets. We need goals. The educational system needs to be revamped. We need to understand that not necessarily educational system. We need to look at others. It's not necessary that everybody's got to go to university. There's some other people that have some, experiential goals that in terms of they have more sort of attitude in which they could excel in sports. We need to have academies. We need to have all sorts of things that whereby people can actually have the opportunity to harness their whatever potentials that they actually have.
Okay, I'm gonna. Carlos, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm there.
Okay, just hang on. Let me have Feyi. Feyi, do we still have Feyi on the line?
I'm here. Yeah, I'm still here.
Feyi, someone we studied in Nigeria and now studying here described the situation in Nigeria as being in a cemetery and the situation in the UK as resurrection. Is it that bad? And that's Carlos. Carlos is still online. He made that statement just now.
Well, I mean, assuming death means that he's dead, I'll probably say maybe coma, because...
it's in a state of coma.
Yeah, if you're in a coma, at least you can still wake up, So, I wouldn't rule it out, totally like that. They are part of the UK education system that are very, very shambolic as well. But I think the issue here is that, there's a wide gap. And you can't really isolate the problems of the university system with the system-wide decay that we're dealing with in Nigeria. We can't fix Lagos-Ibadan Expressway Benin already, it killed so many people before. I don't know if it's been fixed now, So these things they are pervasive, they're everywhere, So it's just who we are. It is, there's no surprise, that Nigeria has maybe a really bad university system. What the problem is that I think where the issue is that because universities, they're supposed to think us out of our problems.
Yeah.
That is what universities are there for. They call them ivory towers, So solutions should emanate out of there. So it's a bit disappointing and depressing when you see the universities, the lecturers, students just generally behaving exactly the same way as the problems are everywhere. So I think that's what we need to.
Okay. Okay, Feyi. Carlos, are you still there? Hello, do you still have Carlos on the line?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, Carlos, I'm going to read some statistics to you now. And since you're fresh from Nigeria, I want to see if it reflects your reality of the educational system in Nigeria. It says in Kaduna State University, only 24 out of 174 lecturers have PhD or are full-time staff. 80% of journals published by Nigerian university lecturers have no visibility in the international knowledge community. There are only 2 registered patents owned by Nigerian academics in the last 3 years. There are 77,000 full-time non-teaching staff in Nigeria, 77.511, and there are 2 times the number of academic staff. Is that your experience? More non-academic staff than lecturers?
Exactly what we are talking about now, Kayode. This thing is very pathetic. It is look at the statistics they are reading now to we Nigerians. I mean, when we are discussing some issues, it will be like it is like a story or a fable. But what I want us to do here, more from the guests you have got there, let's just emphasize a little bit on what we think that will be the solution.
Yeah.
That is where I rely on now. And I think I've got one idea of what will make Nigeria sit up in education.
All right.
If there is a legislature that will pass that before you can take any government post or any government appointment, be it elected or unelected, their children must study in Nigeria.
Okay, you want a legislation where public office holders must have their kids study in Nigeria?
Yes, if that is before you can take any post, be it elected, be it non-elected, be it anything with governance, your children must come back to study in Nigeria.
All right, Carlos, thank you for calling, and we really appreciate your contribution. You made a point there. If you're a public office holder, don't have your kids study abroad. Like we have lots of kids running around with expensive cars in the UK, and when you get their family surname, it's either a daughter of a minister or a son of a chairman of a local government. Should we ban public office holders?
I mean, we got to be careful a little bit to a certain extent. Should we ban people from actually code? Would it infringe on their human rights or freedom of doing what they have to do? The part we need to look at is that I think people should be free to send their kids to wherever they want to, for as long as they're not dipping their hand in the treasury and using that sort of money to actually finance. So if we could ascertain that one and figure that one and that, okay, these people are not actually using it. So I think people should be free, but a situation whereby the treasury and all that thing is actually the one that is actually suffering through that thing, I think that's where the problem would be. So I don't, to a certain extent, will feel that because we know that there's a lot of human rights violations and all sort of things within the country. I mean, we start implementing some sort of policies like that one. How do we actually, you know?
I'm going to bring in Akitayo. Akitayo, good evening. Good evening, Akitayo.
Yeah, good evening.
Aki, where are you calling from, please?
I'm calling from London.
Okay, you've got the floor. It's ASUU, and we've got Feyi, Fawehinmi, and Segun Ali discussing the ASUU strike.
Hello?
Hello, I have you on the line. What do you have to say on the program?
Can I just make my comment as quick as possible?
Yes, please.
It is true that Nigerian universities are in a state of deplorable condition. But we should be very careful when we are making analysis, especially regarding the guy who just spoke about comparing Nigerian universities with the UK counterparts as death and life. I didn't agree with him. I went to UI And we've got very fantastic academic, curriculum activities. We've got fantastic lecturers.
Yeah. Okay, I just want to agree with you there, because I went to one of the best universities in Nigeria, University of Jos.
Yeah.
And yeah, which is arguably the best university so far in the country. Anyway, go ahead, just make your point.
Well, I won't agree with you.
Okay.
I think the University of Ibadan is still the best.
Okay.
That's jokes apart. Yeah. Even right from my undergrad level, I was being taught by about 3 professors who actually studied there. We've got, these are very fantastic lecturers, renowned worldwide. They came here to lectures and they are even being paid by the UK government. I think what we lack is infrastructures and the enabling conditions. Environment. Government should do a lot. I quite agree with him. University of Ibadan was built in 1948. We were supposed to be in a room during my own tenure. We were about 8, which was not conducive. I quite agree. But that does not actually affect what they put into my brain. I'm very confident in any part of the world. Okay,
just hold on. Don't go away. I want to bring Fawehinmi in here. Feyi, are you still on the line?
Yeah, I'm here.
Feyi, Akin has just expressed something now that I find really, I can attest to that. We still have fantastic lecturers within the Nigerian university environment. University of Ife, we still have fantastic federal universities that are making impact. And even Ogun State University, at least it had Dr. Ruben Abati, who is on to become a good spokesperson for Nigerian president today. So it's not all doom and gloom, isn't it?
Well, there are 37,000 lecturers in the university system, so if they were all bad, I think we should just, pack our bags and counsel the country. You always get some good people. There's some people who actually genuinely like teaching. There are people in the system who would do it, even if you slash their pay in half. They will do it because they love teaching, and those people will never go hungry because their services are always in demand. Even outside of school, they do consulting work. So there will always be those. So I think what we want is a minimum standard. In any kind of system, you always have those who will excel, who will be at the top, maybe the top 1%. You will have maybe the bottom 10%, and then you have the middle. But what we don't have at the moment is that we don't have the minimum standard. There's no limit to how bad the education can be. You can obtain from a Nigerian university. Based on you've seen the facilities, you've seen the numbers, you've seen the stats, you've seen all the problems. So this is we are not too worried about the top. The top is like trying to design policy.
Okay. I want the 3 of you to stay on the line. Yeah, I've got on Twitter. I've got Eguando Tony saying, I know a professor of cardiology that lectures in over 5 universities. If that is not suicide, tell me what else it is. I've got Truth Ponet. He says, not everyone needs a varsity education, but there is no one in university education that will not improve, no matter how bad. Deli Gray said that the problem is the public stance of ASUU. They are not compelling enough. This is why everyone still thinks they are going for pecuniary interest. Segun, what is the way forward?
The way forward is, like I said, we need to actually have set a target. The previous caller that was actually talking, he talked about we need to have a target, we need to have the infrastructures, we need to actually invest on infrastructures, because what we have right now, the conditions in which university students they are quite deplorable. We need that one. Then by the time we have a standard, set the standard, we need to have this is the things that we don't really have a system that we can actually work on. See, when you have a system that you can actually build upon, so you can now sit down and start looking at the system. What are the systems? What are the implications? People need to sit down. It's not just a fire brigade attitude. When you actually, and it actually starts from, you have a minister of education who doesn't even have a clue about what he's actually doing. Because it's only based on federal character, because the whole thing is that rooted to a certain area, or because he comes from an ethnic background, and rather than attempting to actually deal with issues related to that one, he's busy doing some other thing within his own personal state. This sort of people, they should actually be brought forward.
There's another caller. I can just hold on there. We've got, hello, good evening. Okay, Feyi, Segun talked about the system, that we don't have a system in place, and that is why we're in the situation we're in now. What concretely, what do you think the government should do? At least go halfway. I mean, it's foolhardy for the president who is spending so much money on the Niger Delta militants. I mean, we're spending billions on naira of naira and millions of dollars on some armed militants, and we are abandoned. How can the president just say, I've given ASUU, or I've dedicated 100 billion to the educational sector, and that is it? And we're spending almost 200 billion on just a few thousands of ex-militants.
Well, I think the first thing to realize that 100 billion is better than zero, you know. And like I said, 100 billion, that might actually get the 10.5 million primary school students who can't get into school. That might actually get them into school. Yeah. So 100 billion is not enough, but I don't think it's something we should scorn. Yeah. You know, I mean, Nigeria has the entire education budget is 400 billion. You know, it is the largest component, it's the largest individual allocation in the budget right now. You know, so it is what it is. You know, the money we have is what is being distributed across all the different needs we have. So the problem is that when you talk about the militant, well, unfortunately, Nigeria is not at the point whereby, you know, the best tactic for negotiation is to take hostages. You know, so everybody, if you can make noise, if you can.
So once you have your AK-47, you get you are able, government will listen to you.
You are fast tracked to the front of the queue. You know, so people who, you know, so I mean, in a way, you really can't blame ASUU because, you know, that is the strongest weapon available to them. For example, we've just paid off PHCN workers about all the money the government made from selling off the power plant has been given. You know, so if you can take hostages, you probably get the government to answer you. So
okay, Feyi, sorry to cut you. I've got Sam on the line. Sam, good evening.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. KO.
Good evening. You're welcome to Politics with KO. You've had a debate. It's a sorry state, but we still had some glimmer of hope. What have you got to say?
Yeah, thank you. Hello?
Hello, I'm with you.
Yeah, it's just a shame that we still have to be debating this way about Nigeria. Actually, I used to lecture in one of the universities before I came to UK.
Okay.
And to be honest with you, we all have one way or the other a share of the blame.
Okay.
What do I mean? ASUU has its own blame. The government have their own blame too, and that means the society we are running is in problem generally. One thing I would have to ask is, you give ASUU, they go back to the class. Now, do you want to tell me that, hello?
Hello, I'm with you.
Do you want to tell me that by accepting the money, that means the problem is solved?
Okay, Sam, just hold on there. That's a question from Sam. Even if we give ASUU all the money accruing from oil wealth, it's not going to build those classrooms and give them a comfortable environment in one day. It's got a point there.
I think the idea is that, and an average Nigerian, if you look at it, there's a lot of people have lost the sense of belonging. We don't really have the love of that country. What I notice is that everybody's just out there. It's like a dog-eat-dog world. I just want to get as much as I want to get. We're not really doing it for the love of the country and for posterity. You do things, it's not because of your own pecuniary or what you can actually do, but you have to think, what does the future generation, if we think about how does the future generation, it's not about us. We're sitting here today, there's going to be, but we need to think about how does people that we're actually going to bequeath, how are they going to be, but when a situation that you've got people, and that is an individual, it's not about the politicians, it's not about it. It is a general perception of an average person within the society. We need to actually check ourselves and actually understand.
Feyi, what would be your last words on this topic? Just hold on the line. Feyi, are you still there? Feyi, what would be your last word on this issue today?
I think, like I said, the first thing to be done now, forget everything else. The first thing now is to resolve this strike, get ASUU back in school, and then let's start talking. That's what I'm saying. So let's get ASUU back into school. While they're in school, we can start negotiating, because it is the system of negotiating when they're on strike does not produce any useful development or any useful agreement that can actually take us forward. So let's resolve this strike. Let them meet at some point, whatever the distance is between the government and us. They should meet at some point in there, get back into school, and then let's start talking.
Feyi, thank you for coming on Politics with KO. We should get you into the studio in the nearest future. We really appreciate your comments. Thank you.
My pleasure entirely.
Yeah, Segun, Feyi said it there. We should do it for the sake of the students.
For the students, yeah, I think that is the best thing to do. I mean, but they need to actually sit them down. They agreed preconditions, and now they need to sit down. We see how the situation is actually going in all over the world. Yeah. I mean, in America, the present lockdown, now they have to sit down. They have to meet each other halfway. The government have to meet ASUU halfway, and ASUU have to meet them halfway. They have to think about the situation of our brothers, our kids, and the people that are actually in school, because they are wasting away. So if they could sit down, agree on the situation that, well, this is how much, and even the ASUU lecturers, should also be able to shield and not expect to actually get everything. In the negotiation situation, you don't get everything.
Thank you for coming on the program. We're coming to the end of the program now, and I can tell you, I really apologize that we couldn't take the conversation any further. This is to President Goodluck Jonathan. I mean, the only president with a PhD, a former ASUU member. It's in the interest of our nation that we should have our kids back in school where they belong, so that we don't just keep losing them to gangs and what have you, the ladies to prostitution. As I say, the idle mind is the devil's workshop. It's a sorry state in Nigeria, but there's a hope there for us to pick on the street if we want to. Tonight, it's been Segun Ali and Fawehinmi. It's been your show, Politics with KO. Next week is going to be amazing because we're going to have Dono Kogbara. You will say the controversial Nigerian journalist. She's going to be live in the studio, and we have a word to reveal quite a lot of things that has been going on within the Petroleum Trust Fund. I really appreciate all our callers. We thank you very much for tuning in to Ben Television UK. Guys in the studio who've made it very possible for us to start on time. It's the end of the program. See you soon. Goodbye, and see you next Thursday.
Station Tower Hill. Ticket £40 at www.eventbrite.co.uk. Boarding time 9 p.m. sharp. Music by DJ Goody, DJ Dubwise, and DJ TZ, stand-up comedians, and more. For more information and booking, call Arthur Don Goody on the numbers on the screen. Remember, it's the car, the boat cruise on Saturday 26th October. Come and be part of the greatest night of the year.
This event is supported by
You're single, you're Christian, and you're